is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2, I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
Here he is, folks. Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday in studio after a record short trip to Sioux Falls for each of us. What time were you back on Saturday?
Oh, I
was back early. I was back by noon.
in the old days, I would have gone back Friday night. But I'm not the young driving guy that doesn't care going through Summit, South Dakota at 2 in the morning.
Because I have people ask me, are you going back? I'm like, no.
I thought about it. Yeah, I thought about it.
I'll just stay. That was a quick trip. There's a lot to get to here. I know people that were watching the game, the Bison men's game, Jeff, we'll start there on Friday night, or found out the news when we were courtside at about 5:30 that Jackson Money we knew probably wasn't going to play. We found out Jakari White didn't play either, and I found the play that he got hurt on. Obviously, White did not play. He had a cast on his hand, and it happened in the regular season finale against South Dakota. It was in the first half where he's driving to the basket to try and lay up, and Chase Forte pretty much undercuts him, and he went down hard on the play. Here it is here. Stefanowicz got a nice pass out to him. You'll see here he goes down hard, and right there broke his wrist. And he played the rest of the game with it, and he was really good in that game. I think he scored 20-some-odd points against South Dakota, but this was the play there. He went down, and he was not able to play in the game on Friday night.
I thought that was a flagrant foul. You can't
they
undercut.
They looked at it.
You can't undercut people like that.
Yeah, they looked at it, and they did not give Forte a flagrant in that. And Jakari went back and actually made both free throws.
And I'm not saying he intentionally undercut him, but when you undercut athletes at that level, I mean, they are up in the air, and that's a hard
Jakari
fall.
was way up there.
Right.
So that's the backdrop. Brendan Watkins didn't play, and Watkins was out with a bad back. So 3 Bison starters were out of the lineup heading into the game with South Dakota.
Yeah, give credit for the troops that were remaining. They played hard.
Yes.
They played hard, and they had their chances. I just, when you're missing those players that they did, it's a tough deal. This guy, Tajavis, was a warrior.
Yep.
Was an absolute warrior.
26 points. He was sensational the entire night. I thought Andy Stefanowicz played really well. Mason Miller made shots. When Kasuki hit that, the three-pointer and got fouled, I think the Bison are going to win this game. They're going to find a way to win this basketball game.
I will tell you, I thought the turning point in South Dakota's comeback was when the Bison were up 11 and Feddersen goes to the line for a one-on-one and misses. Yep. Omaha, or South Dakota comes right back and hits a 3, and it's an 8-point game just like that.
And that guy went nuts. Yep. Forte was really good.
Instead of being up 13 with just over 4 minutes left, now all of a sudden you're only up 8 with just around 4 minutes. And that was, to me, such a huge swing. You got to make your free throws. You got to do those key plays. They played hard. Give them credit. Yep. They were unbelievable in their effort. But you got to convert on key winning plays like that.
Yeah. And they didn't. And South Dakota, the crowd was out of it, and they didn't really make any noise until Forte scored an and one to get it to 7, and that's when all right, now the crowd is here. But it's the ultimate what could have been with the Bison men's basketball team this year. It really is. With Money out and White out, I think this team could have done something if they were healthy.
Strength. Absolutely, at full strength. They there's no reason they couldn't have won it. There's no reason they couldn't have won it. Yep. And wasn't in the cards, injuries to key players. I don't know if I've ever seen a team coached by Dave Richmond down to mainly a 6-player rotation.
Much. It was. Because Burke didn't play. Tracy Anderson got some minutes, so he was maybe the 7th guy off the bench. Tajavis still was off. He was the 6th man of the year, but that was.
And then they had 3 guys fall out.
Right. Because Kasupi fouled out, Tajavis fouled out, and Feddersen fouled out in the game. So the question now is what happens next. I mean, immediately by 12:30 Saturday, Jakari White is in the transfer portal, and that's not stunning
Which we knew.
news.
Which
That
we
is
knew.
right.
Yep.
That's not a stunner for anybody. Oh, I can't believe that happened. Jakari had his senior day celebration, but with the JUCO ruling, Jeff, for people that don't know, that does not count now. So he has another year of eligibility. He's going to go somewhere and make a good chunk of change.
Yeah, he'll make what we believe somewhere around 200,000, maybe 300, depending on where he goes. 17.1 points a game. That's a pretty good transfer portal stat.
Second team All League.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There's a ton of guys that will go in the portal that average 3.
Yes. But these are the kind of guys that are coveted. That's why if you're looking around and you look in the Missouri Valley, you look in the Summit, you look in the Horizon, look at their all-conference teams and look at their eligibility status, because those are the guys that they don't come down. They're going up. They're going to go to the SEC. They're going to go to the Big 12. They're going to go to the Big 10. That's what you're looking for.
I think Jakari was coveted since pouring what he did against the Butler game.
27.
National TV.
At 21 in the first half,
Yep.
right? I mean, he was fantastic in that game. So the question now is, who's coming back? We were asking this off air before we came back for the Bison men. Now, we knew 5 guys were automatically gone. Jakari was one, Jackson Money, Luke Kasubke, Mason Miller, Jeremiah Burke. Those guys are automatically moving on. Tajavis Miller is going to be a sought-after player. Does he decide to come back? His relationship with Dave is about as solid as it gets. Now, I don't know if what that means.
I guess that doesn't mean much anymore.
I don't know what that means in 2025, but you have to imagine.
I thought Sam Griesel and Dave were, same thing, but Sam got an opportunity at his hometown, Nebraska.
You'd have to think that Tajavis, let's just say he's in the coming back category. Noah Federson, you don't know.
Yeah.
Guy that has height, has played 2 years.
I thought he underperformed this year. Maybe he was hurt all year. I don't know.
Yep. And he also was playing with a wrap on his left hand after he got dinged up, I believe, against South Dakota as well. Andy Stefanowicz, I thought, was really good in that game. I thought Stefanowicz started, what was, Jeff, the final 3 games? He got inserted because Watkins was ineffective, but he started, I want to say, the last 3 or 4 games. I thought he was really good.
He had 3 early turnovers, but then none after that.
Yes.
And as almost a one-man press breaker, he must have been just exhausted after that game.
He played 39 minutes. I think he came out briefly in that game.
Mason played 40.
On Friday, right. Damari Wheeler-Thomas is the name people keep asking me about, and I don't believe he's coming back. Damari redshirted this year. I think it was a combination of an injury. I think also there's some behind-the-scenes stuff going on there.
Yeah, now with Andy probably taking over as point guard now, I don't think he would come back.
And that's tough. Damari's a good player. I mean, think back to 2 years ago when we were down in Sioux Falls. How good was he in the Summit League tournament? He was really good as
you thought
as a
he'd
freshman.
Be easily a 4-year starter.
Yes.
That's how things change in college basketball.
So that's at least, now we're up to 6 guys.
I think 7 or 8 he's going to have to bring in.
I think Pat Bath is probably going to move on. I don't know about the legacy guys in terms of Carson Smith, who's Craig Smith's son, and Eli Bradley, who's Gus Bradley's son.
No idea.
Carson redshirted. Eli has not played in 2 years.
He was hurt this year.
Right. So we're talking maybe 8.
Yep.
That is if you thought last year was a lot, this year is going to one-up that for the amount of volatility it's going to be on the Bison men's basketball roster.
Yeah, it's 2025. It's just a lot of guys.
There's some work to be done.
And does that contribute to? I just didn't feel like the fan base was really into it this year. Did you feel that way?
It was certainly resulting in the attendance numbers.
Yeah.
I think that, which is odd because they had a local star to attach themselves to. Moni is from right here that I thought, and he had a great cheering section, but I thought that was a missed opportunity.
I've never felt that having local players, whether it's football, basketball, really makes that much of a difference overall attendance. I've never felt that way.
I thought there was a chance to market to that, though, especially in basketball, where there's 5 guys that play and you can see their faces. You can't see their faces in football. That you can. Here's a guy who was played all-state player when he played.
It was one of the more entertaining teams to watch at Dave Richmond's tenure.
Yes, absolutely.
And so,
absolutely.
So you can't say that.
Nope.
It's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's Wi-Fi.
They have Wi-Fi at the Shack. You get it. It's a long.
It's not that.
It's a bigger conversation on that.
Yeah.
I will say, It seemed like a missed opportunity this year for people to come out and watch the team play. I think it's a lot.
I enjoyed covering them. They were fun teams. There was fun games. It was
because we had people ask me,
they're shooting the rock all over the place.
Are they going to play any more games? I don't believe so. I think it was the NIT or bust if they didn't make the NCAAs, and they're not going to make
because you have to pay.
Right, they won 21 games this year, Jeff.
You have to pay what? $100,000
Sometimes
or something
it's
like
a
that?
lot of money to get in some of these, like the CBI or the CIT, and there's another tournament that's out there now. That's never been Richmond's cup of tea. That they're going to be, especially with the injuries.
Yeah,
they're
done. They got to be done.
They will be done. But they're not going to be playing any more games. Now let's go to the women, because that's the one to me that's more egregious on this Monday morning. The Bison women lost to Kansas City. They fell behind 12-0 to start the game on Friday. Felt like to me they were either unprepared or not ready for what was going to come their way against Kansas City.
Well, what really struck me is, and you look at Jory Collins and what he requires of his players, and that is to be competitive, to be aggressive, to be mentally tough. That's a requirement of his program. And for this team to come out opposite of what his requirements are is even more striking.
Yep.
I mean, you knew what Kansas City was going to bring.
Absolutely.
You knew they were going to bring the press. You knew they were going to be aggressive. You knew that they were probably a little torqued off from getting beat by 23 or 7.
27. It was
the
90,
previous week.
Yeah.
And then to go out there and be down 19 at half and just not really respond to what KC brought to the house.
I mean, they got it to, I think they got to 7 at one point late in the game, but honestly, it never felt like they had a chance to win this game. And I can tell you, being in the arena, and we saw a shot of Matt Larson and Todd Phelps, they were visibly upset, frustrated, I want to say, with what went down, especially after the optimism of last year, of making to the championship game, of getting a WNIT game at home and having a 2,500 people here was a great crowd and winning and scaring the heck out of Minnesota. And I understand they lost Heaven Hamling, and then you lose Elle Evans in the portal. That is a big deal. You can't discount that. Elle would have, I think, been in the conversation for Summer League Player of the Year had she stayed. No doubt about it.
Yep, no doubt.
But they still won 19 games this year, Jeff. They finished third. You have to beat Kansas City. You just have to. And there's no other way to look at it as a deflating end of the year. I don't know if they're done or not. They could get into the WNIT if they want. I don't know if the administration will want to go that way.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I guess I asked Jory after the game. It's obviously too soon.
Yep. You got to ask.
You got to ask, but, he had no interest in that question, which I don't blame him.
Nope.
I don't blame him at all.
But again, you got to pay to get into an event like that. Do you want to keep going? I mean, you're also down a player. Mariley Simon didn't play in the game, out with a dislocated kneecap. I don't know. I'd be interested because now you have to wait at least a week because Selection Sunday is not.
Are you practicing now?
Right. It's spring break at NDSU this week.
Yeah. What do you tell your kids?
Right. I mean, hey, come back and we may play in 10 days. Right. At least 10 days before they would play a game. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's really, really interesting on what went down there. And the other question will go, who's going to come back on this roster? They're graduating Draper,
Schulte.
Abby Schulte, and Sasha Vanderpool are moving on. So they have 3 players that are done, and then the big one is Avery Coonan. I know you and I both wrote about it and talked about it last week. I know how much she loves being here, and you could see it. She was emotional after the game. I asked her just a question on why Kansas City was.
So was Elle Evans.
So was Elle Evans last year.
I thought she was coming back.
Yep. So, as much as you'd like to think that's.
Yeah.
This is the scary time for coaches.
Never say never. Never say never.
When they get away from campus and are around family or hangers-on or friends and, hey, well, you could probably play in the Big Ten. That's what scares coaches the most is when they get away from their building.
Does Don Plitzowite at Minnesota knows all about Avery Coonan, I would think.
Yep.
Do they have any kind of collective for women's basketball that
you got something
can make a difference?
Dickeytown athletes down there. Yep. That's just something to keep again, I'd like to tell fans just to be as prepared as possible for the next 3 to 4 weeks.
I think Avery's a Big Ten athlete.
Absolutely. Absolutely she is. And she's certainly showed it the last, I'd say, 10 games of the season. But that was just a flattening way to end the year. It really is.
Yeah, just.
And full disclosure, I mean, 6 years ago, I was hammering the Bison women for not winning for not even making the Summit League tournament. They won 19 games, third year in a row that they've won at least that many. So they have certainly turned their trajectory around. Now it's about how do you catch
South Dakota State?
How do you get in that conversation right now?
How do you catch South Dakota State?
Well, granted, every other team is asking that question. I'm just saying, get in the conversation with them. I mean, they were tied with the Jacks in Brookings with 3 minutes to go. How did we go from that to what we saw on Friday? That was like A to Z, you know? Maybe
Jory probably banging his head against the wall, too.
I'm sure he's asking that same question on that. Let's break. We come back. A couple other topics with Jeff, including, we mentioned earlier with Sam Herder, Tennessee State's Eddie George is moving to Maction. Get his thoughts on that and a couple other things. Back on Hot Mic on this Monday morning, right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Back with Jeff Kolpack. Email comes in. Jeff, what do you make of the head football coach going to Sioux Falls? Yeah, Tim Polisic was there.
Yeah, he was there right
games.
behind the bench.
Yeah.
It's what he does, man. Kissing babies, shaking hands, getting out there.
Also, to repay, I think, for each of the coaches, because Jory and Dave both went to Boulder for the season opener for the Bison football team. They were there. But that's the thing, and this is no shot at Matt Entz. It's going to sound like this, because I don't believe he ever went to Sioux Falls. Kleiman used to go all the time, because Kleiman would give me a hard time. Like, what are you doing here? Because the Bison never win when you're here. But you're right. That's part of the gig. I asked Paulus if he still had a jump shot. He's like, nah, not anymore.
He doesn't strike me as a basketball-looking guy.
Golf, he was already ready to talk to me about that. But he was in fine form.
Yeah, my golf show starts next week. Maybe I'll have to have the head coach on.
Is it on this channel? Then I don't care. I don't care.
Isn't this segment all about me?
Nope. We want your opinion, man. Here's a couple other things I want to
Maybe you should listen to my
that.
golf show. You might improve your game.
Who has time to golf? I have a 5-year-old, man. There's no time to do that. Let's see. Two other things I wanted to get to. You heard the Tennessee State news on Eddie George.
So I believe now that's 5 opponents that will have first-year coaches. The Bison will play next year.
Yep. Good for Eddie George. I'm intrigued, though, what happens to Tennessee State. He had got them relevant, and they were never relevant at the FCS level prior to his arrival. They may go the opposite way. I don't know.
How many guys will he take with him to Bowling Green?
Yeah.
Does he have any guys that are Division I?
Eric was telling me the Bowling Green coach was, what, you say 580? Eric Scott Leffler, who left to take the Eagles quarterback job. I didn't know that. That's a lot of money at Bowling Green.
Yes.
They're not good.
No.
They've not been good in the MAC. That's a good chunk of change.
He can win the MAC. It's not that hard.
Well, with Northern Illinois gone next season.
Well, and they were even okay.
They've been trending in the wrong
direction. They were
direction.
really good about 8-9 years ago.
Yes. But that's really interesting stat on the Bison football schedule for next year now. It's almost half of the opponents the Bison will have are going to have first-year head coaches.
I mean, I know we're sitting here and it's March, but do you see a loss on that schedule right now?
On the Bison football schedule?
I mean, a lot can happen. We know. I'm just
South
Dakota State's always going to be.
South Dakota is going to be a hell of a game here. South Dakota, the Coyotes are not just going to fall off the map. I know their best defensive guy is gone. Bauman's back. Charles Pierre's back. Offensive line is still pretty good. I know there's a couple guys in the portal. That game will be tough. I will say that. But beyond that, because I had some Jackrabbit fans.
It's at UND. That's going to be tough.
Yep.
But
and that'll be late in the year.
They're rebuilding a little bit, so maybe they'll be a little more growth in that teem by the end of the year.
To answer your question directly, no, not on March 10th. I do not. But there's a long way to go.
Bison will have a new quarterback.
Yep.
We haven't seen Cole Payton go a whole game. We haven't seen, some of the other players.
They also have to get through the April portal.
Will Nathan Hayes challenge Cole?
They have to get through the April portal window.
Yep.
That's not a slam dunk that nobody's going to go. That's just, again, we're talking about basketball in the first segment. It's not a automatic there. Another email. Guys, how about some love for Obi Blanc's wrestling team? Yeah, 3 guys are heading to the NCAAs.
It's improvement.
It's absolutely improvement there. Led by Kyle Berwick, who finished runner-up at the Big 12 meet last night. Tristan Doherty won, be actually the reigning national champion in his weight class to punch his ticket to Philadelphia. That's where the NCAA wrestling championships are next week, which will
Seems
be
like
fun.
a good city to have the NCAA wrestling.
Awesome. That'll be really,
tough
really
Philadelphia for a tough man sport.
But you want to talk about a program that was ravaged in the portal.
Yeah,
Bison Wrestling is right to the top of the list.
And Roger Kish just
he
talked
decimated it. Yeah.
Jimmy Rogers decimating South Dakota State football. In a way, Roger Kish did that to the Bison wrestling program when he went to Oklahoma. It's like he didn't care.
I got to win.
Yep.
And he went and took some really good guys. And that's on top of the fact that Franek left and went to Iowa, and Caliendo, who was really good. Caliendo could have been one of the all-time great Bison wrestlers.
Let's just say the Bison administration wasn't too impressed with Mr. Kish and the way he operated things.
But you think of those two guys, if they stick around, then maybe again they can coalesce and they can keep guys. But it's good to see that they're Obi's recruited some good dudes.
And so the NDSU wrestling alums and fans, you gotta get the collective going. I think football's done it. Obviously, we'll see what the spring portal's like, but they've really minimized damage in the last year and a half. Women's basketball.
I said that last week.
You need to. The alums need to pony up.
Right. If the L. Evans news didn't like a slap across the face, then I don't know what to tell you. Right. It's not just Bison culture, and we're going to stay together. If that didn't wake you up, then nothing will. That your best players can just go.
I know you don't have to like it, but that's the way it is.
Right.
If you want this program to challenge for a Summit League title, you need the money.
Yeah.
You just need the money.
Just to circle back, I had a bunch of, on the football chatter, I had a bunch of Jackrabbit fans talk to me after the SDSU game, and they lost on, well, what do you think? Are we going to be any good? I'm like, yeah, the Jacks aren't going to fall off.
No.
South Dakota State's still going to win 9. I think they can win 9-10 games.
Well,
I really believe that.
And who says these young guys, they just haven't played.
Right.
You know, I would think Jimmy Rogers has been recruiting at a pretty high level. So these young guys that'll be taking over.
Rogers took like 20 of his recruits to Washington State. But I think the guys
Well, any come back? I mean, there's a spring portal. Maybe they go out there and.
So I was told that there was talk of a couple to come back, and they were said, no, we're not going to do that.
I think once you go there, you're there.
Yeah. Or some that, hey, that went with them and then immediately regretted it, and that door was closed. And that we talked about this because we had people asking us on, with a couple of the Bison guys. Once you go, once you open that door to let people come back, that is
see ya.
That's a steep slope to go down if you're going to welcome guys to.
If you're going to let guys waffle like you are so good at in your picks, if you let guys Dom Izzo,
you are still bitter about losing the pick, my man.
Yeah,
you are still.
But if you
bitter.
guys if you Dom Izzo it and you go maybe not.
When did I do that at all this year?
I shouldn't spoil your Moorhead Spud party.
I just flat out beat you and pick them this year.
Did any cars get overturned and burned in Moorhead on
there may
Saturday
have been,
night?
not South Moorhead. There was lots of honking horns, I can tell you that. They were pretty pumped. It's Sawgrass week this week on the PGA.
Yes.
How many times could you hit the 17th in teeing off? Could you hit it in one and hit the island green?
I could hit it. I don't know if it sticks.
You're standing on the green. Can you get it to land?
2 out of 10. 3 out of 10.
3 out of that's pretty good.
How far?
Well, it's like 150 yards, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like 160,
probably. That's a pitching wedge for me.
Our guy Hoagie loves
No, that's like
Sawgrass. He's still got the course record there. Shot 59 there a couple years ago. So
well, he needs to put together 4 good rounds. He's there. He he's making cuts and just can't.
Sunday's been really bad this year. So there's 137.
137.
What's that for you?
3 out of 10.
What club
4
is
out of
that
10.
for you?
137 is a 9-iron.
Okay. I'd love to see that.
Maybe it's getting to be an 8 now.
Thanks for coming by.
All
Great
right.
stuff in Sioux Falls.
Golf show starts next week,
there
Dom.
it is. We're all excited for you. We'll break. We come back. Mr. Hockey will join us. Mason Kraft on leading Moorhead to its first state hockey championship. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns after this.